So I met my wife, and she was a big runner. She was in it for the medals. She big medal collectors, doing races. She ran a marathon. She was marathon training when I met her. And running was just still not my thing. I went to her races. I supported her. Had fun with your runs, but you're out of your mind. I remember going to some of her races. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to do this. You're crazy. You're out of your mind." But she somehow convinced me to sign up for a 5K, and that was in April of 2021, and it was awful. I hurt so bad. I think I was probably pushing 290 pounds. Never ran. Decided to go run 3 miles, and that was a mistake. That was a real big mistake.
Did you put in any training for the 5K, or just kind of like?
Nope. She's like, we should do a 5K. I said okay,
and you did.
Yeah, that was that. That was the beginning of my running thing, and it kind of, after that, I was also, kind of drinking heavily at the time. Decided to get sober in May. Got back into, the gym. Decided to get my life together a little bit. I dropped 50-ish pounds. Decided to eat healthy, get back in the gym, start running again. And it was kind of like, maybe losing 50 pounds kind of makes running not so awful like the last time. My legs don't hurt so bad. It also kind of gave me a little bit of an escape to, kind of keep my head right.
This is your host, Brendan, and you're listening to the Ordinary to Ultra podcast. This podcast is all about helping you run your first ultramarathon and beyond. Tune in to hear new and experienced ultra runners share how they got into running in the first place, what inspired them to run an ultra, training and race day tips, and the gripping story of their first ultramarathon. Prepare yourself to be inspired as you hear stories of grit, sometimes failure, but ultimately triumph when our guests finally cross the finish line. Few clothing companies out there have actual trail runners design their trail running clothes, and Territory Run Co. is the few. Brett Farrell, the founder of Territory Run Co., has been an avid trail runner for over 15 years, and he's designed some of the most thoughtful, functional, and just cool trail running clothing I've ever worn. 5-panel hats, t-shirts, sun shirts, shorts, socks, beanies, and more. They've got it all. I personally, though, love Territory Run Co.'s products for 2 reasons. First, I love their vibe. Most running brands are built around this performance is everything vibe, like work hard, sweat hard. That's fine, but we have enough of those. Territory Run Co. is built around the feeling that you get when you go out and try a new trail for the first time, or when you go on a trail running trip with friends. Second, Territory Run Co. builds their products for trail runners by trail runners. I have 2 of their hats, and they're my go-to running hats because they're incredibly light, super breathable, have super cool outdoorsy patterns, and I can throw them in the washing machine, which is super convenient. But what I love most about them is they have a little loop that goes around that floppy strap in the back of the hat that keeps it from flopping in front of your face if you're wearing it backwards, which is fantastic. Anyway, if y'all are in the market for some trail running hats or clothing, go check out Territory Run Co. And lucky for you, Brett has hooked me up with a coupon code for the listeners of this podcast. So head over to territoryrun.co and use the code ordinary to ultra20 to get 20% off your first order. Both the website and the code are listed in the show notes of this episode. So go down to the show notes, copy the code, tap the link, and get some sick gear. All right. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show. Hey, Chase. Thanks for joining me today, man. Super excited to chat about your ultra running experience that happened recently. You ran your first 50K. And excited to learn more about what brought you there.
Thanks for having me.
So Before we get into it, Chase, I'd love to have you introduce yourself briefly. Just tell us a little bit about who you are, like how old you are, where you live, what you do for work, if you have a family, what that looks like for you, and that sort of stuff.
I'm Chase. I'm 33. Sometimes I feel like I'm 18. Sometimes I feel like I'm 50, depending on the day.
Oh,
I have a
dear.
wife. We've been married just over a year. Got married on April Fool's Day. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Um,
Yeah. Was it legit or not? We'll never
it
know.
was discounted, I'll tell you that. um,
Okay.
we have a little boy on the way in September, which will be our first. So my training might look a little different in the coming months, but I think I'm still in denial about that. So we'll see how that works out. Um, I'm a senior master Ford technician. Been with Ford for like 12 years. Kind of getting out of the shop this year, moving into more of a management position. So no longer get my hands dirty, uh,
Mm,
which I thought was going to be a good thing. Not being so physically
yeah.
tired after work, but just mentally tired now. So it's trade
Different
off.
tired.
Different tired. Definitely a different kind of tired.
Yeah, man, I know that that difference. It's interesting. Or do you miss it too? Do you miss like getting into it and like actually working on stuff?
Um, Sometimes I'm still out in the shop a lot. My desk is actually out in the shop. Um,
Okay.
I still get my. I like to say I don't get my hands dirty, but I'm still touching cars all the time. I don't know if it maybe
Okay.
I just can't let go of my old ways.
Yeah. Checking out what people are doing, what your crew's doing. well, well, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Different world. I bet you got a raise, so that would be good, maybe.
Yeah, raises are always good. Can't
Yeah.
complain about
Yeah.
those.
Can't complain. Well, sick, dude. I'm curious, when do you find that you usually run? Like because you got this work, you got a family. Do you usually fit your training in the morning or at night, or how does that work for you?
I'm up early for work. I usually, I try and do a little bit of incline walking in the morning, 15 to 20 minutes, just to kind of get me going. But waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning to run is unfortunately, if I want to get 6 or 7 hours of sleep, it's just not happening. So I run after work most of the times and on the weekends. Try and do 2 or 3 days of running during the week, mixed in with the gym, and then long runs on the weekends when I have a little bit more free time. But if I get
Mm-hmm.
stuck at work late, it's kind of one of those things. Unfortunately, I'm not one of those people that has a super strict training schedule anymore. When I was
Yeah.
marathon training for my first marathon, I tried the best of my ability to stick to my plan, but now
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of I listen to my body a little bit. If I'm tired, I'm not going to push it. I don't want to get hurt. Getting too old for this.
Getting too old for that. 33, man.
Yeah.
Ancient. No excuses, Chase. The episode coming out next week, I interviewed a couple 70-year-olds who are doing this thing. I was like, man, this is awesome. They're
I hope
the
doing this
first,
on 70.
right? Yeah. So good for you for watching your body and
That's my wife's
listening
doing.
to it.
She'll be very proud.
Yeah. Yeah, I should get her into it too. They were a couple. It's like I don't meet very many running couples. It seems like most of
She
the
got
time
me
it's
into
like
it, and
one of
then
us. Oh yeah?
yeah, this was her doing, and then she obviously has been taking some time off with the pregnancy, so she wants to get back into it though. I was out running the other day, and she's like, "I've got some serious FOMO.
Yeah.
Everyone's out running, and
Yeah.
I'm just here walking on the treadmill."
Dang, my wife's the same way. I don't know if you probably can't see it. I've got 2 walking treadmills back here. We
Let's walk
desk
next to each other
job.
on the treadmills.
Yeah, she's at this desk behind me, and then we're both just on our walking treadmills during meetings or work or whatever. Yeah. Got to get the steps in.
Yeah, my wife actually said I should set the computer up on the treadmill and walk while I'm doing this. I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, like at home or at work.
At home.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice when you can't get the running in. Um, but Chase, tell me. I mean, you mentioned your wife sort of maybe helped you get into running, but what's the whole story of how you got into running, and when was that?
So I hated running for the majority of my life. I despised it.
Woohoo!
Did not like it. I played soccer for years and years and years when I was younger, and I was goalie, so I kind of had to do some running, but I was exempt from doing most of the running. And I just remember middle school having to run the track and just hating it. And football running, and I wrestled my high school year, or my senior year of high school, and just remember running until we puked and just not never thought that I was going to be a runner. I've always been a bigger guy. Just running was not something I liked. So I
And
got
with
my
wrestling, real quick, with wrestling, there was like running as a part of your training for wrestling.
endurance stuff.
Dang, dude! Like, you see wrestlers are just it's pretty close quarters, definitely rigorous, but like
Yeah,
I
just
just
a
didn't
lot of
think that,
physical activity.
yeah, that running would like. I mean, I guess that could help with that. Interesting. How many miles would you do?
I don't. Those were basically just
Yeah,
until you
it's a while
dropped.
ago.
It was not fun running around the mats. It was not a good time. I think I just
Jeez,
blocked that part of my life out of my memory.
let's not think about that. That's why running was not fun for you.
No, put a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
Um,
You know, I met a lot of track people who hate running now because they ran track and it like ruined it for them. Interesting.
yeah, I can see why.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I met my wife, and she was a big runner. She was in it for the medals. She big medal collector, just doing races. She ran a marathon. She was marathon training when I met her. Um, and running was just not still not my thing. I went to her races. I supported her. Had fun with your runs, but you're out of your mind. I remember going to some of her races. I was like, "There's no way I'm going to do this. You're crazy. You're out of your mind." But um, she somehow convinced me to sign up for a 5K, and that was in April of 2021, and it was awful. I hurt so bad. I I think I was probably pushing 290 pounds. Never ran. Decided to go run 3 miles, and that was a mistake. That was a real big mistake.
Did you put in any training for the 5K, or did you
Absolutely
just kind
not.
of like, yeah, like couched 5K deal?
Nope. She's like, we should do a 5K. I said, okay. And
And you did.
um, yeah, that was that. That was the beginning of my running thing. And it kind of, after that, I was also, kind of drinking heavily at the time. Decided to get sober in May. Got back into, the gym. Decided to get my life together a little bit. I dropped 50-ish pounds. Decided to eat healthy, get back in the gym, start running again, and it's kind of like, maybe losing 50 pounds kind of makes running not so awful like the last time. My legs don't hurt so bad. It also kind of gave me a little bit of an escape to, kind of keep my head right. So we signed up for, a few more races and did a 10K and went out to Washington State for our honeymoon and hiked for a week out there in Olympic National Park. Kind of got outside a little bit, and it's like, man, I really kind of enjoy hiking again. Like, this is awesome. It's like, I wonder if we can run and do this at the same time. And I didn't really know much about ultras, and she did a trail race, and I went there, and I was like, it's kind of a boring trail race, just running around like grass and stuff.
Where was that?
That was in South Carolina, so not like a huge trail race, and it was at like of like a housing development thing.
Hmm.
They have trails like nature trails, but it just wasn't. I don't know. It wasn't that exciting. I ended up running it the next year, and I was like, "This is boring. I'm never going to do this again." Just kind of
Was
killed the
it
trails
like
for me.
several loops around the same thing?
It was a 10K loop.
Yeah, and you did that a few times
It
or
just
two
wasn't that
times.
exciting for me.
Yeah. Hmm.
So we, did that. Did a few little runs, and we did a 10K, and I got done, and I joked, and I was like, "Yeah, I could have kept going." They've got a half marathon for this. We should do the half marathon, and so kind of turned into a joke and did a half marathon. And I wrote the date down. She was like, "Man, we should sign up for a marathon." So in July of 23, I don't know what I was thinking, and we signed up for a marathon. She wrote my training
Dang.
program and did a whole bunch of running, and decided I did not
When
like running on the road anymore. But
yeah, because this was a road marathon. Is that right?
it was. We drove down to Florida
Hmm.
and did a trail run, a 30K trail run, because I was like, I need to get off the road. I'm losing my mind. I'm not fast. I'm big. I'm not built to be a road runner. So we went down to Florida and did a trail run, and I was like, oh, this is what a real trail run looks like. This is fun. We're running through the woods. I was expecting to be flat. It was not flat. There was a lot of ups and downs, a lot of curves, a lot of sharp turns. It's like, this is a lot of fun. I can get used to this.
Hmm.
That was a 10K loop as well.
Hmm.
I was like, man, they have some good food here too. They're feeding you candy, they're feeding you pop, they're feeding you all sorts of stuff. I was like, I can get used to this.
Dang. Nice.
So I was like, maybe I should get into ultra running. And the rest is kind of downhill from there. Did my marathon.
When was that, the marathon?
That was in February of this year.
Oh, dude, that was super recent.
Yeah,
Okay.
all this kind of happened
So,
very fast.
well, not super. Because you started running in 21, you said?
21 was my first one. I didn't really start running
Yeah.
consistently until February of 23 ish. So
Okay, a
I
year before that
basically
marathon.
a year going from zero to marathon. My
Yeah.
goal was just to finish. We did a Skidaway Island marathon in Georgia, right down the street from our house, and it was rough. It was,
Yeah.
I'm a lot of road, a lot of pavement. I just remember getting down to the last 2 miles, and we were running on the crown of the road, and I was like, man, my ankles are killing me. And I look at my watch, and I was like, I could walk the rest of the way. And I was just so relieved that I was going to make the cutoff. I didn't walk the rest of the way, but I was like, I could if I wanted to. It's just such a good feeling to know that I did it. I was like, I finally did it.
Yeah, that you'd make it. Dang. So you said for that marathon, your goal is to finish. Did you have like a secondary? Like a lot of people also are like, but I kind of want to get this time. Yeah, I really just want to finish, but I kind of would like to get 5 hours or
I thought it would have been cool to get 5 hours, and I did 5 hours and 30 minutes.
Nice, dude.
So the first half went really well, and you kind of get that little thing in the back of your mind. You're like, this is going way too smooth. Like something's going to go wrong, and everyone talks about hitting the wall, and I struggled the second half. I was pacing about 4:45 to finish 4:45. If I would have kept up my pace the second half, but I just got beat. I was tired.
Yeah, dude.
Started getting my own head, starting to hurt, it was definitely not something that I want to do again. I'm one and done on the road marathons. one and done on
Same.
those. I have no desire to do that again, but for some reason, the ultra marathons, I'm good to go. I just want to keep going farther on those.
Yeah. um, on that note, what is it? What are the factors for you that make trail and ultra better, like more desirable than road running?
Um, I I like being out. I mean, I was gonna say I like being outside, but being out in nature, running in the woods. It's not doing road running. I mean, you're running down the streets, sidewalks. It's just not. I feel like it's very repetitive. Doing trails, I mean, you're in the woods, you're seeing nature, you're hearing birds, you're hearing animals. It's more mentally stimulating too. You got to watch where your feet are going. You got to watch for roots. You got to watch for rocks. Make sure you don't trip. I mean, some of those runs and stuff, some of the sights, and it's just it's really beautiful compared to running on the looking at blacktop. It's real boring, real fast. At least for
I
me.
think there's something to what you just said. I think you're onto something.
My other, and nothing against road runners, but I think that the trail running community and the ultra running community is just a lot more supportive than just the camaraderie that everyone had at that 50K was just it was awesome to see everyone get together and be so supportive of everyone, and didn't really get that whole vibe at the any of the road stuff I've been to.
Yep.
Plus, they have
Yep.
good snacks.
The real reason comes out.
I heard they had cheese quesadillas, and it is true. They do have cheese quesadillas.
They were calling my name.
Yep, they were. They know I like to eat.
Yeah, way better food. I look forward to that. Sick. Well, thanks for explaining that. I definitely felt the pressure to perform in my first marathon. It was like everyone's out there to run a certain time, and
Yeah.
they're all like in it for themselves, just there to bust it, and that's great. It's impressive, but yeah, that's not my vibe either. So
Yeah, everyone's like, "How fast did you run that in? How fast did you do the 10K?" They're like, move up to the 50K, and they're like, "You ran how far?"
yeah,
That kind of
exactly.
like time is a secondary thing. They're like, "You finished that?" It's like, "Yeah."
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I like that too. Sick, dude. So you had this marathon. Did you plan the marathon in February, like as a piece of training for your 50K?
No, so if I remember correctly, after we did the 30K trail run in Florida, um, I was like, "Man, I should sign up for an ultra." Um, and I just kind of got on the internet, and I was like, "Oh, there's this cool thing called ultra sign up." It's like, this is all about
Yeah.
ultras. This is awesome. And I just started, going down the rabbit hole of, trail running and ultra running, and found one. I was trying to search, Southeast-ish, something cool. I was like, if I'm going to do this and, put my body through this, I want it to be something, worthwhile. So found one in Northwest Georgia, like the most northwest corner you can get. It was a month after the marathon. I was like, let's do it. I'm just going to sign up for it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already trained for the marathon, and, went down the rabbit hole of Facebook groups and got on there and was talking to people, and they're like, yeah, just use the marathon as a training run. So use the marathon as my long run. And
Mm-hmm.
I probably, should have, I'm not big on the, the tapering and, like a lot of people are. And I just kind of took it super easy after the marathon, which was a good and a bad thing, but, it all worked out.
How easy did you take it? Were you still running at all? What kind of miles maybe were you putting
Yeah,
in?
maybe 10 to 20 miles a week for those 3 weeks. So I was still kind of, I
Yeah.
wasn't sitting on the couch eating potato chips and pizza, unfortunately, but I think maybe mentally I was just kind of scared of hurting myself. I was like, I've come this
Yeah.
far. I don't want to push it. I don't want to hurt myself. I don't want to, do something,
Hmm.
um, compromise this. So I'm going to take it easy, do a bunch of easy runs, and I don't think three or 4 weeks is really going to make a huge difference in the training. I'm either ready or I'm not. Let's go do this.
Yeah. That's still a good amount of miles, I'd say. And probably the right amount in a taper area. I don't know. Um, but I am no expert either. Um, okay, so you're running, and before that, before the marathon, because the marathon was in
February.
February. Okay, so did you have a marathon? You said your wife made you a marathon training plan.
Yep. You wrote me a training plan.
Sick. Good for her.
Still trying to get her to write me one for the 40 mile and the 50 mile, but
Yeah.
I'm working on it. She's got other things to worry about.
Um, how many marathons has your wife ran? Is she like a
One.
big marathoner? Just the one with you?
No,
It was before
she was going to, but she had just
babies.
found out she was pregnant, so
Yep.
she did the pretty much walk the half marathon. So she dropped
Dang.
down.
Yeah. Yeah.
She
Yep.
ended up
That'll do
second
it.
in the marathon. She was the one and done marathon too. She's going to stick to the shorter distances.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So half marathon is her thing.
Yep.
More. Yeah. That's fair. Cool. So yeah, you trained up for this marathon, and that trained you up for the 50K. You're all ready to go, do a little tapering before, and then the 50K comes. Had you trained on nutrition at all? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna eat this gel at this time, or I'm gonna eat this quesadilla at this point, or I don't know, any of that, and maybe like electrolytes too and such.
Um, I had trained with some goos and stuff and some honey stinger and played around with gels and caffeinated gels and caffeine, and I was big on the element. Got to get sodium and
Yeah.
whatnot in. I tried every half hour and 45 minutes to take a gel goo whatever I had during the marathon. But for the ultra, I really I would have liked to stick to that plan, but I think I went down the rabbit hole of nutrition and just totally got lost and was like, well, I need to do this and this and that. I kind of stuck to the gels. Got a few Cliff Bars to throw in my pack. I think I got some trail mix, and I was like, I'm listening to a lot of people say just eat what your body wants when you get to the aid station. That's kind of what I did. So I trained with gels,
Nice.
and I didn't train with eating. I know some people train with actual food when they're doing their training runs, but I stuck to gels and water.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I haven't done real food either for anything yet, except for maybe Cliff Bars, if you count that as real food. Cliff Bars are great.
That's
It's
half
like,
a real food. It's
yeah,
more real than a gel, but not quite as real as like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
yeah, yeah. Cliff Bars are so convenient. That's my pre-long run snack of choice, probably.
That's what I've been eating before I run, before I go to the gym, just because it's so. Get a
Easy.
giant box of them, leave them on the counter, and just get something before I go.
Yeah. And something else that I really enjoy after my workouts is the Perfect Bar, which is a refrigerated bar, and it's protein. There's a lot more protein in those, and there's sugar too, so you replenish some carbs, but
I'll have to try
they're
those.
really good.
I'll have to try those.
You oughta. Yeah, if you got a Costco near you, you can get a nice box of them at Costco. But okay, 50K baby. It's March. March what?
End of
What
March.
day? End of March. Okay. Before we get into the story of it, do you remember what the elevation gain and loss was for your? Was it flat? Was it? I don't know.
No, it was not flat. It was
Okay.
about 5,000 feet of gain.
Oh yeah. All right. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I just saw 5,000 feet and 32 miles. I was like, it can't be that bad. I did not pay attention to the map of, what it was when it was.
Did it happen all at one time?
Pretty much.
Oh, okay. Don't tell us about it yet. Okay, that's good to know. Where was this again?
Northwest Georgia.
Northwest Georgia. Is this like in the
mountains?
Do the Appalachians touch you?
No, not quite. It was in the mountains of Georgia, which aren't quite, West Coast mountains, but
sure. What are they called? Is it a range? What's the range that's in Georgia?
I'm not sure, to be completely honest.
Oh, okay, I don't know either. But
I skipped
cool.
Class as a kid.
Yeah, pretty much. I only know the Appalachians and the Rocky Mountains, and then I've been talking to people out in the east, and I'm like, oh, there's the Smoky Mountains, and then there's like the White Mountains too. I don't know. I don't know them well, but okay. Northwest Georgia, 5,000 feet of elevation gain. You got this 50K going on. Okay, I'd love to hear the story of it from like the night before, like how much sleep you got, how you felt in the morning, what you ate for breakfast, how you felt when you got to the start line, how you're doing, anything notable that's happening, from the morning till, during your run until you cross the finish line. Just want to hear anything that you can remember.
So we got an Airbnb. Me and my wife got a tiny home. Learned that I never want to do a tiny home again. It was
that's cool, man.
I think we had different definitions of tiny homes. It was very, very small. Took our two dogs, drove down Friday afternoon, got stuck in some traffic. I think it took us about 6 hours to get there. And I don't like traffic. So I was very stressed. And we are going to the middle of nowhere. It's getting to be late. Not really a whole lot to eat or do around where we are. So we actually got Little Caesars the night before. Which probably was not the best idea. But
you brought it with you?
We picked it up on the way about 20 minutes from our tiny home.
Okay. Got it.
And, ate some Little Caesars.
How'd your tummy feel?
I have a pretty tough stomach, so
cool. Good.
I definitely was a little worried about it, but I did not have any issues, luckily. That could have been very bad. We brought a cooler of all the other stuff we were going to need. I was worried about having some coffee and whatnot in the morning, so we stopped and got some. And we found some bagels, some peanut butter. So lovely little tiny home. Not the best sleep I've ever had.
Yeah.
A lot of nerves. And there was actually a time change between where we were staying and 15 minutes down the road to where the race was, which did not help my anxiety because I was all worried about
Seriously?
Yep.
That's terrible.
So I was all anxious about getting the clocks and the alarms, and I was like, I'm going to wake up late, and then I'm not going to make it. And it just, not a good sleep. But
yep,
probably got a few hours of sleep. Woke up, had my bagel, had some coffee. Very nervous. I just did not. I think my nerves finally got me. I did not feel prepared. I was like, there's no way this is going to happen. did not feel good about this. So we show up. I'd never run in the dark before either. So I had a headlamp, running with the headlamp for the first time.
First time.
I actually,
What time?
I tried, I went as long as I could without a headlamp on, trying to stay with everyone. Just messing with my eyes. I probably should have trained in the dark a little bit just to get used to this thing, but you live and you learn.
What time did it start at?
I think it was 6.
Okay, and this is spring, so yeah, it's still pretty dark.
Yeah, it was dark at 6, pitch black at 6.
Okay.
So yeah, I think there were 40 or 50K runners, and everyone's just standing in the middle of a field, and he says go, and everyone just starts running. So, it started off pretty good. I knew there was 5,000 feet of elevation gain. I didn't pay any attention to it. We probably get about a mile in, and then it just starts climbing and doesn't start climbing. And I think it was almost 2,000 feet in 2 or 3 miles. So it was pretty much just straight up. And I was like, oh, man, what I thought this would be. And I just remember being like 4 miles in, and I was like, there is no way that I'm going to be able to do this. There was a couple other people around me, and I was like, is this just a sick game that they're trying to play? Like, who does this? This isn't even fun. But it flattened out and, turned into some rolling hills and a bunch of downhills and made up time. Not that I was going super fast anyways. I took everyone's advice, just keep your heart rate low. Don't push yourself. I wasn't trying to win. I was just trying to finish. So I really enjoyed that. Once it kind of leveled out a little bit, it kind of made it worth it. Just started cruising, taking in the scenery. You're that high, sun's coming up. It's just, kind of one of those things that's just awesome to see.
Yeah.
So then it goes downhill, a lot of downhill. It was wet. It had been raining. I'm glad that I wore some pretty serious trail shoes. There were a lot of slippery leaves, people falling. I was muddy. It was definitely an experience trying to go downhill.
Yeah, not too fast, so you're not slipping.
Yeah, I was trying to find like a happy medium. Like, I need to make up some time, but I also don't want to fall and twist my ankle or, be that guy that's covered in mud. Not that anyone can see me, but I didn't want to be that guy.
You just imagine this big guy
I'd
coming
never
to the finish
really
line
done any
completely covered in mud. Oh man.
I'd also never done any like water crossings or anything either. So
was there a water crossing?
There were a few of them. I think there were 2 or 3.
No bridge?
No, just running through the water.
Oh.
And I was like, do I change my socks? Do I just keep on it? And
well, what did you do?
It was a bunch of learning. I just kept running. I had another pair of socks. I didn't change.
Okay. That would give me a lot of anxiety. I don't know what it is about water and running, especially in a race. Like, that just sounds like blisters and uncomfortableness. But
I had Band-Aids. I had all the, I thought
you're ready.
I thought I was prepared for everything, but I was like, I'm just going to run it out and see what happens. My shoes dried. My feet dried. There's, it was fun coming back down, and then what wasn't fun was when it got to about the halfway point and got to the aid station, and sitting there talking to everyone, just kind of fueling up, eating a little bit of food. I just remember I'm getting like right around the corner as I'm leaving, and someone goes, "Don't worry, the next 3 miles there's just straight uphill again." I was like, "Why do you have to tell me that?" It was just climbing back up another 2,000 feet. Um, the second time was a lot
Dang.
worse than the first time because I
Dang.
was tired.
Of course.
I remember
You're tired this time.
apparently my mom didn't remember that I was running that day. Um, she called me 4 or 5 times. I finally answered, and she's like, "Why are you ignoring my phone calls?" I said, "Mom, I'm like 23 miles into a run right now." She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's a good excuse. You can call me back later." I was like, "Thanks, Mom."
Supportive mom.
Yeah. So back uphill.
Can I ask you real quick? Sorry to interrupt. Yeah, and like your training, you're probably a lot of flat training, right? So this probably like hit you like a truck in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
really did.
Dang.
It was. I was not prepared for that kind of vert. That's for sure. One of the girls that I was running with, it was her first 50K too. We were kind of talking to each other along the way. We ran together for a good majority of the race. I got the nickname Flatlander. She's like, you're from Savannah, Georgia. She's like, what do you do for elevation? I said, I don't.
Nope.
I don't do any of it. So I got the nickname Flatlander. But that second half, it was uphill and then kind of evened out. And then it was another steep climb. And I think the total elevation gain was like 4970. But it was worth it. Come down again. And if I remember, the last probably 2 or 3 miles opened up into like this valley. And I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like, this is
pretty.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I had to stop and take a picture. But I just remember looking at my watch, texting my wife, being like, "Oh, I think I'm 2 miles out. I should be there soon." And it was a struggle those last mile or two. I made it somehow.
Somehow you had the energy. More wrecked or less wrecked than the marathon?
Surprisingly less wrecked.
Less wrecked.
I think it was probably just because I went into it, taking it a little bit easier than the marathon. I think, walking up the hills, just trying to keep my heart rate low, knowing that I was going to be out there for, I think it was like 8 hours and 45 minutes, something like that. So just knowing I was going to be out there for that long, I was like, if I'm going to finish, I need to, kind of conserve some of my energy here. So let's not go out and try and win any races.
Nice. That makes sense.
I started crossing the finish line, the guy's like, and here he is completing his first ultra marathon. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go lay down now, take my shoes off, just lay in the grass.
Yeah. How'd you feel like all together, like mentally, emotionally, physically, when you crossed the finish line? How were you doing?
A lot of emotions. I was definitely holding some tears back. I'm a big guy, so I couldn't let anyone see that. But
what
definitely,
a sucker.
I was a little emotional.
Nice.
I was done at that point. I just laid down. I was like, trying to stretch it out. I think my wife started theragunning me. I was like, I'm going to try and not hurt so bad tomorrow.
Is that like the bumper gun thing that like massages you? Yeah, dude. Mm-hmm.
They're great.
That's good stuff. Yeah, I got a small one recently just for that, so we could pack it and bring it to things like that.
I remember one of the first things I got done too. I had to check my watch at mile like 26 or 27. My watch froze, and I was like, I'm going to do all this for nothing. I said, my watch isn't going to record this. It's going to freeze. It's going to restart. And I was like, oh, that's the thing. God, it recorded the whole thing.
No proof.
I know.
Sorry, man. What watch are you sporting?
I got a Garmin.
Yeah. Go one of the 20 sorry, that's too low. One of the 50 types of Garmin's there are. Yeah.
There are a lot. There are.
Yes.
I couldn't tell you what all the differences are. I think this is the 955. The
Oh,
Forerun.
nice. Yeah. The
Just kind of the basic one. I didn't want to spend a whole lot. I bought this when I first started training. I didn't know if running was going to stick. I didn't know how long this was going to last. I didn't think I was going to. A lot of people didn't think I was going to do the marathon. So I just kind of had to prove to them I did it.
When you say a lot of people, who are you thinking didn't believe in you?
Dad. Thanks, Dad. Sorry.
Dad.
Listen to this.
Take that, Dad. Show you. Yeah. Well, you showed it to yourself.
Yep, that I did.
Yeah, man. That's what really counts, right? Like, also, when you finished the marathon, was that like a big, the marathon, was that a big booster for you? Like, oh yeah, like I should be able to do a 50K. Like, did you
absolutely
believe? Yeah.
I think my longest marathon training run was 18 or 20 miles, which, I mean, it's still a good amount, good distance, but once 26, you're like, oh man, I ran a marathon, and then the 50K is 6 more miles. You're just, it's a walk in the park. Once you get up in the distances like that, it's kind of weird to think about because, 26 to 32, but, like 6 to 12 is, I don't know, the differences. It just seems be absolutely. Once I hit the marathon, I was like, this is going to be, there's no reason I can't do 6 more miles.
Agreed. Yeah, for anyone listening, I highly recommend doing a marathon before, because, it builds that confidence. You're like, if I could do this, I can totally add 5-6 more miles on there.
Especially, I mean, I think the cutoff for that marathon was 6 hours. So if you can do a marathon in under 6 hours, those 50K, those cutoffs are a lot longer.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot more gracious. Man, well, good for you, dude. March, you ran your first 50K. You got the medal. Do you have the medal? Right by you, by chance?
No, it's in the other room, but we didn't even get medals. We got a cup.
Okay. Yeah. You got a cup?
It was a cup.
Not a medal, it was a cup.
Yep, cup.
Wow. Is it a nice cup?
Yeah, it's not the nicest, but it's nice because of what it is.
Yeah, it means
a mason.
lot.
It's like a leather wrapped mason jar.
Oh, okay. Man, what would I do if I got a jar? Like, I can't hang that from my metal hanger.
My metal hanger has a shelf on it, so it sits on top.
Yeah, okay, there you go. You're set.
I won't say I'm upset I didn't get a medal, but it's a little. I was kind of hoping to get a medal, but
right, for your first. Look,
I'll take the jar.
Oh, okay. Yeah, take something. Yeah. Well, Chase, what's coming in your future, man? I know you mentioned before we started chatting online that you've already got some things planned for the future. What's going on?
I've got signed up for a 50-mile in 2025 in May in Virginia, Grayson Highlands. I wanted to do it last year, going down my ultra sign up, rabbit hole. Saw this race. I said, there are horses here. I said, oh, I won't sign up for this. So I'm going to try and do that next year. Run with the horses. I think it said there were like 9,500 feet of gain on that.
Oh, that's solid.
And then there's the 40-mile in Georgia, Pine Mountain, in December that I'm going to sign up for. I think registration opens next week. So as long as I get in, I'm planning a 40-mile and a 50-mile, but it's going to be fun training with the newborn.
Yeah,
We're
dude.
get it done, though.
Yeah, dude. Oh, man. Good thing the 50 miler is next year. Get some solid months to like sleep train your child and
I've got,
get
I've got a whole
somewhat.
got a whole year to prepare for it.
Yeah, because you said, is it September of 2025 or
May.
when is May? Okay. Yeah, you still got plenty of time, dude.
Yep.
Yeah. 3 months. Ideally, you'd be sleeping most of the night
I'm
after
hoping that
3 months of your
yeah,
baby.
I'm hoping that I don't want to put it out there, but I'm hoping that the baby is a good sleeper.
Yeah.
Thing like
I
us,
was,
be a good sleeper.
yeah. We were blessed with a good sleeper. She was sleeping through the night somewhere between 2 and 3 months, which was crazy.
That would be
Um,
ideal.
yeah, man, it's
I'm
good
hoping for that.
stuff. But then all of my friends that had boys, something about those boys, I don't want to scare you, but those guys, they just don't want to chill. They just kind of want to be awake all the time.
It's not the case. I've heard it before, so I'm hoping
Okay,
that we get a sleeper.
cool, good. Well, I do too, for your sake
Yeah, my mental state.
and your wife's sake, for your wife too. My goodness. That's exciting though, man. Starting your family and you got some fun stuff going on. Well,
Oh, yeah.
I'm in the same boat, dude. I've got a baby coming. I didn't tell you this. I've got a baby coming in August. It's our second, and
Congratulations.
thank you. My first 50K is literally the week after the due date. So I didn't plan this. Okay, I signed up for the 50K before I knew about the baby. Okay, so yeah. Anyway, it is what it is.
That's going to be a fun one. I'm probably
Yeah,
getting a little sleep.
yeah. It's okay. We can do it. I'll put in the training.
We should be prepared.
Yeah, that way at least. Oh, sick, dude. Congratulations. Looking forward to see how you do in these future races. I'm sure you'll kill it, and hopefully you can find a way to get some more vertical training in, maybe some Stairmaster. Uh,
I've started to incorporate some Stairmaster. We have two of them at the gym,
yeah.
so as long as they're not taken, I try and get on one of them. Done strength training.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We just don't have any, elevation around here really without driving. We have the bridge run. We did that last year 3 times over, which I mean that's still not a whole lot of gain. It's about the most elevation gain we have. We have the stairs of death in Savannah, but I'm not going to run up and down those a bunch.
Is it like a hill with this crazy staircase?
It goes down to River Street, down by the water. It's
Okay.
just the very vertical set of stone steps that's been there for forever, and it's known as the Stairs of Death. I think they actually have a race on Ultra Sign Up where you just run up and down it a whole bunch and see who can do it the longest. Not something
No,
I'm
man.
interested in.
Nah.
Absolutely not.
Suffer
Yep.
for a few hours going upstairs. Yep. Some people are built different.
Yes, they are. But I mean, we're sitting here talking about running 50Ks. So we can't say a whole lot.
It's true. It's just like, what pain do you prefer? Yeah, I prefer the long distance pain too, and
Yep.
on the trails, like you said, like it's so pretty. It's just fun to be outside on the
Getting out in
trails.
nature for a while.
Yeah, so that's rejuvenating, at least. Chase, if you were to give those people out there that are listening to this that thinking about signing up for their first 50K, they haven't done it yet, but they're really interested in this whole idea of ultra running. They want to do it. They just need to get pushed over the edge. What final ultimate advice would you give that person?
Just sign up for one. Just do it. I think I said it early. The ultra running community is everyone is super helpful and super nice. Join some Facebook groups, ask questions. I've asked some dumb questions that I'm sure have been answered 100 times in some of those groups, and everyone, I've never gotten a stupid answer or a stupid response. I mean, really just showing up and doing it. It's not. It seems super scary the first time you do it, but it's it's worth it. Just sign up and do it. That's what everyone told me. I'd ask for advice. I said, should I do this 50K after I do a marathon? And they're like, just do it. Absolutely. Just sign up for it.
Yes. Fantastic. Fantastic
so peer
advice.
Pressure is the answer.
Peer pressure. Do what Chase says.
Yep.
Sign up now. You're listening to this right now. You sign up right now.
Yes. Go and sign up.
Yes. I love it. I love it. And that's great advice with the Facebook groups too. I can second that. Like, there's some solid places online to get some feedback. There's Reddit, like ultra running or ultra marathon Reddit, or Facebook groups. There's trail and ultra running. I interviewed the owner of that group, Craig Lloyd. There's 250,000 people in that group, and everyone's willing to give you some good, sometimes biased advice. Sometimes there's, weird people, but, generally good stuff. And
yeah, people who go out hydration, and they're like, oh yeah, I ran a 100-mile without drinking any water.
Yeah, prove it.
Not good advice.
Yeah, so be careful too. But I should mention too, there's this podcast has a Facebook group called Ordinary to Ultra. The link's in the description. I don't mention that during the podcast ever. This is the first time I've mentioned that, but yeah, you can check that out too. We've got like 55 people, I think, right now. A lot of people working towards their first ultra marathon, and it's definitely a safer community to just tell everybody what you're doing and get some support, some moral support there without getting weird people saying weird stuff to you. But anyway, brief shout out for that. And yeah, thanks for the advice, Chase. Thanks for sharing your story. I appreciate it, man. And look forward to seeing where you go.
Thanks for having me on.
Hey, your host Brendan here. I just wanted to thank you personally for listening to today's episode. As someone preparing for my own first ultra marathon, I've found these conversations to be super valuable, and I hope they are for you as well. Whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or somewhere else, make sure to follow or subscribe so you know when the next episode comes out. Also, make sure you check out the show notes of this episode. There's a link to sign up for the Ordinary to Ultra email newsletter, to join our Facebook and Strava groups where you can meet other people striving to run their first ultra marathon, and see any links that our guests may have provided as well. Thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next episode.